Good. Happy Friday, everyone. Um, I think we all know each other, but to help Jen understand who's in the room, maybe you can all pop in the chat and say, share who you are, your region. I don't know.
Absolutely.
On the agenda, I had like a vibe check. I'm feeling very uncreative about that this morning, but maybe if you want to share like what color of the stoplight you are you feeling red, yellow, or green? Um, just so we can kind of get a sense where people are at today in your well-being, and emotional steadiness. There's a lot going on in the world. So I know I'm really glad to be here with you all and talking about what we can do and all the exciting things that are happening within the grants this year. So it feels like we just met, and I thought about pushing this out a little bit, but I also was feeling kind of ready to get going. So this is the new required, what we used to call the Grantee Learning Collaborative. I'm just calling it the Grantee meeting. There are four of these scheduled for the year, really just an opportunity for us to connect about what's happening with the grants, answer any questions that you might be having about that, and then kind of, collectively share kind of what and learn from each other about how you're using those dollars to benefit your community. So if you have ideas about how you want to use this time over the next couple of years, like I always love your ideas. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of just generally what you all are using these grants for. That was something that had been requested when we met. Was it in November? And then we're also going to talk a little bit about strategic planning. That was another request that you all had you want to spend some time on that. So, um, let's let's get into it. So instead of just like, you know, I don't know, getting into breakouts or me kind of scrolling through a document, I thought I would just give you all a chance to read through the summary document. So in the calendar appointment, and if you don't have it, I'm happy to email it to you directly. Um, or if there's a way that I can drop it in the chat. We're using a new Zoom, so maybe there's a way that I can do that. Anyways, there's a document. It's 25 to 27 System of Care Grant Summary, something like that. Um, in that document, well, maybe I'll just pull it up so you can see and then you can look it out on your own. But it summarizes the work that you are all doing in these grants. The first table is kind of like a high level summary of the types of activities that you all are doing. It also indicates kind of, generally across the $3.8 million or whatever, kind of, how people are allocating those dollars. Give me one second. Okay, this is it. Um, So this table just kind of shows you across every region, kind of generally who's allocating funding towards what category. So everybody's doing youth and family, everyone's doing DEI, everyone's doing strategic planning. Those are all required. But then you can also see like, ooh, a lot of people are putting money towards their barriers. Quite a few of you are using this for agile funding. Less people are using it to support your collaborative more generally or for communications work, et cetera. This is the high level summary of kind of like generally within youth and family engagement, this is the types of things that people are doing. And then I also, kind of give you the overall allocation. So of all the funding, 14% of it is going to youth and family engagement, 12% is going to DEI related efforts, 28% is going to address barriers, about a quarter is being used for agile funding. 9% to the collaborative, only 2% for communication, and then 6% for strategic planning and 5% for indirect costs. So, you can kind of read through this. It's kind of a high level snapshot. But what I'm inviting you all to do for just a few minutes is to look at the other tables. And these other tables are like a direct copy paste of the implementation plan that's in your grant agreement. So it's a really nice way to see what other regions are doing with their funding. So I'm going to give you all some time to kind of just like, scroll through this, see what other people are doing. And then as you do that, I'm going to pull up a whiteboard in Zoom. I'm hoping this works. Let me see. Show meeting. Maybe I have to stop sharing that. Oh, here it is. Whiteboard. Getting fancy. Okay. Are you all looking at the whiteboard? Okay, so you should all have access to this. Um, and as you kind of review that summary document, I invite you all to provide, some thoughts and share your thoughts. So there's a couple of, categories I gave you here. One is around alignment. So what are common activities? Where is there alignment? There's a lot of you doing like very similar work. And so where do you see people doing similar things as you? Would just call that out. So I provided a couple of examples here, right? I see someone else using gift cards to incentivize youth and family participation, or we're also hosting an in-person strategic planning meeting, right? So just kind of get an idea of where things are really similar. The second box is for learning. So, there's a lot of really cool things in here. Maybe there's something that you read or you see and you're like, I want to know a little bit more about that. That seems really cool. So who's got an activity you'd like to learn more about? What is it? So for example, Coos County is using some of this funding to do a community pathways design. Like, I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds kind of interesting. I'd really like to know more about that. Or, transportation barrier is a common thing. You see Jackson County is going to be working with Youth Era on a transportation project. Maybe you want to know more about that. So again, you can just like take these little notes down here, type in your thoughts. And then the final box, if you have time, is to name at least one region you want to connect with this quarter. There's so much we can do collaboratively. You are all doing incredible things. And so, really encourage you all to utilize each other, support one another. So maybe here you want to make a commitment of someone you want to follow up with to talk a little bit more about something that you saw in the grant. Any questions?
And just to be clear, I know sometimes it feels like pressure. We're not going to be coming back to this connecting and be like, hey, Danny, did you and Chris have a meeting? Like, this is not like an accountability tool, right? This is just like a start dreaming and planning in a really low barrier, sort of low pressure way.
Okay. Any questions on purpose or need for technical assistance? And thank you for stretching a little bit with me this morning. Okay, well, I'll let you have at it. Let's take 10 minutes to read through that document and share some of your thoughts. If you want to go off camera or do what you need to do, that's great. Maybe I can figure out how to play some music or something. Anna, are you able to move into the document? I'm sharing it, so I'm not totally sure.
That's what I was just going to ask. How can we access the whiteboard? Like I can click on a sticky note, it seems like, and move a sticky note, but I can't move the actual board.
Can you
I
type into the sticky note?
The grab button at the bottom right, it's like a little hand, is what moves you around the board, everybody.
Okay, that's what I was missing. So I was like, I can't
Hmm.
get the board to actually move. Okay.
Yeah, so
Or if you're
bottom
using
right.
like a trackpad on your laptop, you can just use two fingers. It moves back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if you're using a mouse, you can do a right click, and that also allows you to move.
Thank you.
All right. Looks like sticky notes are slowing down. So, if you still need more time, want more time, like you've got this document, you can certainly take your time and look it over on your own. But in terms, it was so fun to watch the notes come in. And I'm glad this worked. It seemed like you all got pretty comfortable with the technology, so that's great. So alignment, people called out agile funding quite a bit, family engagement, um, support for youth, just generally addressing service barriers. Lots of great ideas in the learning bucket. So you're very excited to learn about some of this incredible work happening in other parts of the state. Um, Douglas and the trainings they're doing. Around intellectual and developmental disabilities and their Connect Share and care meetings. Those are like community meetings where they host a lunch, I think, to bring people in their region together, service providers together. Interested in learning more about communications work, like Jackson Youth System of Care, the work you do around your marketing, Coos and Curry's website. Interest in Yamhill and the work you're all doing around substance use intervention in schools, and the Senate Bill 1167 and braided funding. I'd also love to know more about that. Um, Interest in learning about Marion and Polk's youth leadership teams. Lots of interest in learning about how these dollars are being used to support school-based supports and services. So, especially models out of the Columbia Gorge. And then some interest in learning a little bit about these dollars and strategic planning, which we're going to move into here in a second. Um, okay, so that was great. That seemed effective, seemed to kind of, get you thinking a little bit about these dollars and how they could be used in your region. And Selby, I just want to call out your comment about like, oh, I wish we had done this 6 months ago. It's given me a lot of great ideas. So just to reiterate, like these are your grant dollars. They are flexible. So, if this gives you something different to think about and you want to make adjustments to your grant, we can totally do that. You all have the ability to move, I think it's up to 10% of any funding to a different category at any time. Anything more than that, we would just need to have a conversation about it. Sometimes it's just, an email exchange of like, yeah, that sounds great. That doesn't seem dramatically different. No problem. If it's something like way bigger, then we might need to do like a more formal grant agreement. But honestly, that's not like a huge deal. And if it, is it better serves your community, I'm happy to do the paperwork to make that happen. Haley.
Thanks, Christy. I just want to say that I'm one of the people, and you know this, Christy, because we talked about it behind the scenes, and some of you know because I've talked about it in other spaces, but I'm one of the people doing that, right? An opportunity presented itself with our education service district where I have a good friend who is grant funded through ODE to be their youth voice and strategist and engagement specialist. Hello, I'm awake. And she is phenomenal. And so she and several other of our kind of youth serving orgs, they have come together and are putting like these mini youth led summits together. They were supposed to be quarterly, but the new plan is that they'll be every month, starting this month. And then there will be like a big event in May. And we're going to do all the stipends for that. So we're reallocating our some of our funds, including our DEI funds, to really support being able to bring all of these different like YAC members together instead of having our own YAC anymore. And then doing their stipends, as well as we're going to give them some funds so that if they identify something that's like under $5,000, which I know we would love to do more, and it would support efforts being led around any type of DEI work, the youth are going to get to decide where it goes. And so that feels really fun to like put some funds to that. So thank you for that
Awesome.
flexibility.
That's great. Yeah, great example, Haley. Thank you. I mean, the matter of fact is like things are changing so dramatically, right? You're going to have these dollars for 2 years. Things are going to change. And so if you need to change your grant to meet the needs of your community members, like do it. Okay. All right. So I know you all wanted to talk a little bit about strategic planning. That is top of mind for a lot of us. As you know, we published our strategic plan and got it to the legislature. We're going to do a more formal kind of communication about it once we get that plan back in Spanish, which I'm hoping we'll get back here in a few weeks. It's underway. But in the meantime, I know a lot of you have questions about, okay, so what does this mean for our region and how are we supposed to be using our dollars? So I wanted to put you all into breakout rooms for just, I don't know, 5, 10 minutes, and let you all just chat with each other about how you're using those dollars, what questions you have. Um, in the words of a sticky note, I want to learn more about how folks are using the grant for system of care strategic planning. So, a lot of you are going to host meetings. Some of you have invited Anna and I and other SOCAC staff to kind of help, participate in that conversation, which is great. We are more than happy to do that. And there are other things that you might be doing as well. So, let's do some breakouts. I'm just going to assign you randomly. How about uh let's do 3 to 4 people. Okay. We'll see you in 7 minutes, 8 minutes. Okay. Have fun. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Hope that was enough time. I'd love to go around and just hear a little bit about what each room talked about. So we don't have a ton of time. We have like 10 minutes. I think there were 4 groups, so maybe just, a couple minutes from each room. Just, any highlights, questions that came up, supports that are needed. Um, so how about breakout room 1, which was Amber, Anna, Chris, and Rosa? What do y'all talk about?
I'm gonna put Chris on the spot.
Like we talked about, how we're using our dollars, and in Eastern Oregon, we are using it. All 12 of our counties by April will have an in-person meeting for Youth and Family Leadership Committee. Community partners will also are part of that meeting, but we're really pulling together to make sure that it's a time and space that all of our youth and families can attend. We're going to provide food, and we're going to talk about, this is the state strategic plan, this is the goals, this is the data we're going to look at, this is all the things, and how are we going to do it for Baker County, how are we going to do it for Grant County, how are we going to do this within Malheur County, and do it county by county so that it is individualized and their needs and their voices are part of it. But then also we're all focusing on the same data, the same need, the same rowing in the same direction.
Love it.
So that's
That's
what we're
awesome,
doing with
Chris.
our $1,200 because we're just
How are you doing that? That's like $1,000 per county?
No, $1,200. So it's $100 per
The
county,
$100 per county.
just to
What?
pay for food.
How can you even feed people for $100?
So if it costs more, then we have a meeting budget food thing, and we'll just use that. But that's what I was like, what we're doing with.
Huh. Okay. And are you facilitating it or?
My team is.
Okay. Incredible.
Yeah.
Love it. And so every county will have like a strategic plan in alignment with the state plan for their county. Incredible.
And it's going to be, this is what we're doing, and how are we doing it here, and
Yeah.
how often are we checking in on this data, how often are we addressing and looking at that, so that it won't be like a big old 700-page strategic plan or 20-page. It'll be like, we're following the state strategic plan. We're just, what are we doing in our individual counties?
Love it. So. Amazing. Anybody else from room 1?
Well, if you saw my comment in the chat, Yem Hill is also doing their own strategic planning effort, and I was starting to dig in on some questions right as the time ended. So I don't know, Amber, if there's more you'd want to say about that, but I'm pretty excited about the fact that the regions are really stepping into this space.
Yeah, so I was just sharing that or we're working to contract with a consultant from PSU to assist with our strategic planning. Um, and I was sharing with the group that in Yamhill County, we have a lot of people who want to be involved but aren't showing their involvement very much. So we're really excited to have Brooke on board from PSU to get people involved in the strategic planning process. And we're really in this resetting phase where we're trying to get people more engaged
Mhm.
and involved.
Yeah, that's great, Amber. I think North Coast is in a very similar phase as well. Anna and I just presented to that group, the North Coast System of Care, on was that on just on Tuesday this week? Yeah. So if you haven't connected with Savannah and Corinne, they might have some experiences to share as well.
I definitely will. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, Brooke Reiser, System of Care Institute is at Portland State University. So, expert in the state. So if you haven't met them or want to work with them, there's lots of we can definitely put you in touch. Okay, room two. This was a smaller room. Karsten and Taylor Jane. Any highlights you want to share?
I think we just shared we just kind of checked in general and kind of introduced ourselves and the work that we do in relationship to our system of care, and then how we've decided to use our funds, and then talked about strategic planning and supports for strategic planning moving forward. So it was kind of a very broad conversation, but it was, it was rich also.
Yeah. What's Jackson County planning?
So Jackson County, so for the distribution of our funds, we have mini grants, and so community organizations that kind of serve the mission of systems of care that are part of our systems of care applied for specific regional projects. And then we had a design committee and a group kind of reviewers decide on the grants.
Is that for the strategic planning specifically, or?
So for the strategic plan, so that was okay. So for the strategic plan, we have a strategic plan that's ready to be updated, and have some activities planned for our February meeting to revise our strategic plan.
Okay, that's great. So kind of looking at, are you using the state plan to kind of inform those changes, or?
Yeah, so what we are doing, so there's a few things. So SOCAC, hopefully some folks from SOCAC will join us in February in Jackson County, and we'll kind of review the state plan, and then have some activities organized to in small breakout groups to look at the state plan on kind of a high level, just the one pager, and see where there's already alignment and areas that we could improve upon. And then the next phase of this strategic planning is to look at some of our local data and kind of identify gaps in our community and where we can tighten alignment.
Love it. Super exciting. Love to hear the data work. Again, just want to offer Cody as a resource to you, if that would be helpful.
Cool. That'd be great.
Yeah. Anna, maybe we can pop Cody's email in the chat for folks who want to reach out. And just email him. He's like very eager to work and support all of you. I know Jennifer, he's been stepping into some of the Lynn Lake and Benton work, and so he's really excited to get more involved in supporting you this year. All right, room three, Selby, Heather, and Jennifer. Any highlights you want to share?
Who's going to do it? All right, we had 2 points because we saw the prompt. Oh, Heather, did you come off mute first? I missed it.
Oh,
You want us to do it?
I was going to support you if you didn't want to have to be the person to talk, but you're doing great so
Okay,
far.
I'll do 1 point and then one of you do the second point. So 1 point we noticed was that all 3 of our regions have existing strategic plans, which even though they're individual to our region, our assumption is there's still some alignment with the new state plan, that we're all aiming towards doing these good things for these youth. But and so we're either funding kind of continued development and implementation of our local plans or funding organizations that support the goals identified in our local strategic plans. All right,
Mhm.
Heather, I'll give you the second point.
Okay. And then our second point was some of us were going to or are already making connections to the CHIP for our regions or community health improvement plans. So kind of working to find alignment with other bodies of work that are currently taking place and also community-based and speaking to the philosophy of system of care. And then we did talk about the SOCAC strategic plan as well, knowing that a lot of this already aligns with what's being developed there. So having that as the natural piece of the conversation, but the emphasis being on, what we've currently developed and kind of just finding where all these things come together.
Oh my gosh. I love this, you all. It's happening. You're bringing people together, many of you in person. You're using data. You're really aligning both with other plans in your region and with the state plan. Like, this is magic. This is where it starts. Super cool. Okay, and last room, room 4 was Jen, Karen, and Trish.
So our group is kind of unique because we're all kind of new to this procedure, and so Jen was saying, that she's just in here temporary, and so a lot of I would say a lot of reaching out, trying to get um, participation is kind of a big thing
Mhm.
for Cascade Health Alliance right now.
Mhm.
We're just trying to do new technology, trying to just reach out. It's kind of the new year. People are, changing roles and everything, and so we're just trying to keep above water.
Yeah. Okay. So like in a different spot. And that's like
Yeah.
just the reality for a lot of folks. You're not the only regions who are, struggling a little bit, just trying to keep it together. So um we're really here to help you, in these transitions, and please reach out for support. Like, you're not alone out there. And as you can see, there's a lot of great work happening, and we're here to support each other in that. So
Okay. Thank you.
yeah. Jen or Trish, did you have anything else you wanted to add? Okay. All right. Well, thanks for sharing. I hope that was helpful. Again, use each other's resources. I'm here to help. Anna's here to help. Cody's here to help. There's a lot of different ways this can look. Um, and you've got a couple years. So if you're like, we can't even get people to come to our meetings right now, if you don't start this strategic planning work until next year, that is also totally fine. Okay. So just a few kind of updates as we wrap up here. The first is just an update on getting those amendments signed and executed. About half of you have signed agreements. The other half are still in process. Due to the end of the year holidays, things got a little bit slowed down. And because your last grant ended December 31st, because there was a lapse if the agreement wasn't signed by December 31st, we have to go through this thing, what's called a reinstatement. So it's not a big deal, but it's just more paperwork. We have to write a letter. They have to like do something different with the agreement. Things were on pause because Office of Contracts, I think, was having some conversations about whether they could just like abandon this reinstatement process or maybe make an exception to the reinstatement, if it was like a lapse of like less than a month or something. So we were kind of at a holding period until they had some discussion about that. Unfortunately, they decided that no, we do really need to continue with the reinstatement. So be patient. Thank you. I'm sorry it's taken longer than, we think. If you have specific concerns about kind of where your grant is at, just please send me an email. As soon as you have a signed agreement, you can submit an invoice for the first distribution, the first $100,000, and we'll get that paid for you so you can get your money. Um, I will send the final reporting template for these grants. So your first report on the $25 to $27 is due August 30th. So not for a while. We're in a 6-month reporting cycle. You're going to have a couple of months to kind of get that report together. So we've talked about the reporting template, but I'll make sure you all have the final version. One thing I do need, so per your signed agreement, I need to know who your sub-grantees are. So some of you know who you're going to be sub-granting to. Some of you needed some time because you wanted to engage your community and youth and family in those decisions, which is great. So as you all determine, if and who you're sub-granting to, just send me an email. We need to be tracking that as these are state dollars. So just let me know if you have Amber, do you have a question about that?
I do. How soon do you need that information by?
If you know who those people are today, you can send that to me. If you're not going to know who those people are for another 6 months, just as you determine who your subgrantees are, just send me an email.
Perfect. Thank you.
Ideally, before you give them our money, we need to know that it's going to them.
That's fair.
What else? Your final report for the 23-25 grant is due end of January. I think you all know that. And then just two kind of cool resources that I just wanted to pass along to you. One I posted in Basecamp this morning, and that is a training that's being offered by the Oregon Council for Behavioral Health. And they are doing a 3-part training to behavioral health leaders and staff who want to know more about getting grant funding from private places. So if you're like, I would love if we had more grant funding, but I went to school for social work or I went to school for counseling or whatever it is, and you're like, I have no idea how to write for a grant. This is a training for you. So it's 3 parts. There is a fee. I think it's like maybe $200 to $300. You can use your grant to pay for that fee. But this is a great opportunity to maybe build capacity in yourself or other people in your system of care. So you can start to explore maybe some other grant funding sources that are available through, philanthropic partners, etc. So I'll make sure that that link is included when I send out a follow-up. And then the second thing is, I don't know if you all get the DHS, the ODHS kind of newsletter. But they sent something out this morning. It was like an update on their 2025 year. And they highlighted the impact that a direct cash transfer program has been having for youth experiencing homelessness. Direct cash transfer is like incredible. And they've, not surprisingly, been having a lot of success. I think they've been piloting this program in Deschutes County, Multnomah County. There was a third county, and I think Jackson County is actually, they're going to be expanding to Jackson County. So again, the focus of these transfers was for youth experiencing homelessness, 18 to 24. But again, your grants are flexible dollars. When you think about agile funding, maybe this is what your agile funding program looks like. The model they've been using is $1,000 payment directly to the young person for 2 years. That payment came with, case management and lots of supports. But the outcomes speak for themselves. All of those youth are stably housed, and really doing well. So anyways, I'll send that link to you. There's a brief if you want to read through that. And if you have any questions or want to talk about direct cash transfer, would love to do that with you. Okay. Any last questions or anything else people want to talk about today? Okay. Well, thank you all so much for your work, for your partnership. We couldn't be doing this without you. Hope you all enjoy your long weekend. And we will see you April 17th. We're going to talk a little bit about that system of care infrastructure survey. Cody and I are starting to get some plans and thoughts around about that together, and we'll have some more information to share in April. All right. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.